What if everything you were taught about money was wrong? What if school prepared you for a job, but never for wealth? Most of us grow up with one set of parents, one philosophy about life and money. Robert Kiyosaki had two. One was his biological father, a man of education, respect, and stability. The other, his best friend's father, a man of business, risk, and wealth. One worked for money, the other made money work for him. And as Robert listened to both voices, he discovered the world has two very different rules of money. The question is, whose rules are you playing by? His real father, the poor dad, believed in the system. Get an education, climb the ladder, retire with a pension. He was a teacher, a man of principles, and also a man of financial struggle. His rich dad? He had little formal education. He dropped out of school at 13, but he studied money. He studied people. He built businesses. Poor dad said, the love of money is the root of all evil. Rich dad said, the lack of money is the root of all evil. Poor dad said, study hard so you can find a safe job. Rich dad said, study money so you can create jobs. Two philosophies, two roads diverging. And as a boy, Robert realized, whichever father he listened to would shape his entire future. Poor dad believed in job security. He thought a paycheck was the safest anchor in life. But rich dad saw a trap. When you depend on a paycheck, you hand over control of your time, your freedom, and your future. Robert learned that job security often keeps people stuck, afraid to take risks, afraid to step outside the cage. The middle class works hardest of all, but they work for others, for the company, for the government, for the bank. True freedom, rich dad taught, begins when you stop working for money and start making money work for you. This was rich dad's golden rule. Poor dad believed that buying a bigger house was building wealth. Rich dad shook his head. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out. That's the test. If you buy a car, it loses value. That's a liability. If you buy a rental property, it pays you every month. That's an asset. It sounds simple, but most people spend their entire lives collecting liabilities, mistaking them for assets. And that's why they never escape the rat race. The poor and middle class live on a treadmill. They work hard. They get a raise. They buy a bigger house. Now their mortgage grows, their taxes rise, their spending increases, and so they need to work harder just to keep up. This endless cycle, that's the rat race. Rich dad's secret was to break free, not by working harder, but by building streams of passive income. School teaches math, history, and science, but never the single subject we all use daily, money. Robert's poor dad was highly educated, yet broke. Rich dad had little schooling, but was wealthy. The difference? Financial literacy. The rich don't say, I can't afford it. They ask, how can I afford it? It's not about how much money you make. It's about how you think about money. When Robert asked Rich Dad for advice, he expected a quick path to riches. Instead, Rich Dad told him, work to learn, not to earn. The poor chase higher wages. The rich chase knowledge, sales, marketing, investing, leadership. Every skill you learn multiplies your opportunities. Every lesson compounds. Money follows those who master skills. That's why Rich Dad urged Robert to stop asking, how much will I make? And instead ask, what will I learn? Here's a truth most people never hear. The poor and middle class pay the highest percentage of taxes. The rich legally pay less. How? Corporations. A corporation isn't just a business. It's a shield. It earns, it spends, and only then does it get taxed. Meanwhile, employees earn, then get taxed, and live on what's left. Rich Dad taught Robert, understand the tax system. Understand how the wealthy play by different rules. Because once you learn the rules, you stop being a pawn in the game. Most people don't invest, not because they lack money, but because they fear losing it. Fear keeps them safe, but also stuck. Rich Dad believed mistakes weren't failures. They were lessons. Every loss taught him how to win bigger next time. Robert learned that the greatest risk is playing it safe, because safety guarantees mediocrity, and mediocrity is the enemy of freedom. Two fathers, two philosophies, two destinies. One taught him to study, to obey, to climb. The other taught him to think, to question, to build. In the end, Robert chose the lessons of Rich Dad, and those lessons became the foundation for his wealth and for this book. But this story isn't really about Robert, it's about you. Every day you make the same choice. Do you follow the advice of Poor Dad? Work hard, play it safe, hope for retirement? Or do you follow the path of Rich Dad, seek assets, build knowledge, and create freedom? The truth is, anyone can choose. Wealth isn't an inheritance, it's a mindset. And once you learn the rules of money, you realize it's not money that controls your life, it's you. So, which father will you listen to?